The only thing hotter than the June temperatures in Indianapolis would be this city's soccer club. The Indy 11 have won 3 consecutive matches. Tonight they go for an undefeated month of June when they host Penn FC for the first time. Penn FC playing equally as well. They have taken 10 points out of a possible last 12. It's had an impact on both of them in the table in terms of the Eastern Conference. Now, you won't see Penn FC in the upcoming graphic, but they are tied in terms of points, New York Red Bulls with 21 as we hit the halfway point of the season. The Indy 11 currently occupying the high-rent district, currently placed 4th in the Eastern Conference. Alongside Brad Hodder, Greg Rakesworth, thank you so much for joining us for Indy 11 Soccer here on My Indy TV as well as ESPN+. Simply put, Brad, why is the Indy 11 now playing their best soccer of the season?
Well, I think you've got some space between the games. You've got some guys that are healthy, and you know you can't discount as much the fact that the guys are rounding into form from a team that formed really, really late.
Well, speaking of rounding into form, Justin Braun is still trying to cope with that injury from a season ago, where we have seen his scoring touch return. The man that is second in club history in goals scored has 3 in his last 2 matches.
Yeah, the hot streak that Indy 11 on, there's no shortage of credit that goes to the reemergence of Justin Braun.
When it's not Justin scoring in the run of play, it is Ioze from the spot or creating an opportunity on a set piece, a corner kick, better said, on Tuesday night. He leads the team in both goals and assists.
That's incredible. And when you start game planning for a team, it becomes so difficult not only to try and account for all their offensive weapons, but to figure out a solution for their left back.
Some very familiar names and faces on Penn FC, including 2 former members of the Indy 11. We'll talk more about them throughout the broadcast, but the man that's really been driving their engine as of late, Lucky Kasana.
Yeah, we remember him well from the NASL days and the impact he had with the New York Cosmos. But you take a look, he was a late signee, so he's just now sort of polishing the edges, and he's been on fire lately.
Indy 11 and Penn FC, 2 teams heading in the right direction into tonight's game at Lucas Oil Stadium. They'll score off in just a matter of moments when we come back from this first time out. Starting lineups and the opening kickoff here at Lucas Oil Stadium. Thank you so much for joining us for Indy 11 Soccer. Indy 11 Soccer is brought to us by Community Health, exceptional care simply delivered. Community Health Network. By Honda, proud to be the official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11. By Turkish Airlines, widen your world. And by The Room Place, get it all at The Room Place. Just moments away from getting underway here at Lucas Oil Stadium. Let's bring you the starting lineups for tonight's matchup. They are presented by Honda Manufacturers of Indiana, the official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11. We've talked about the fact the Indy 11 have won 3 straight. The month of June has been fantastic, in large part because there has been lineup consistency. The only change is that Suni Saad was injured before the match in Nashville on Tuesday. Jack McInerney replaces him. Other than that, the starting lineup has remained the same for head coach Martin Renning.
Yeah, and you look at that block of 4, Matt Watson, Nico Modern, Carl Wimet, and Carlisle Mitchell. That is a tough block to get through.
On the flip side for Penn FC, let's touch first on Marco Franco. He is back in Indianapolis. He played in 88 matches over 4 seasons for the Indy 11. That is third in club history. Paulo Jr. was just signed this week by Penn FC. He appeared in 9 matches for the Indy 11 last year, but as is the case with a lot of these names, these are a lot of guys that spent a lot of time in the North American Soccer League.
Yeah, and it's great to see Marco back. I mean, he's such a great ambassador to the game here in Indianapolis, and for Paulo just being signed here last week, that's the same conditions he was in with Indy last year, so he's well aware of the fact that once you sign that contract, put your boots on and play.
There you see the native of Chino Hills, California, was signed by the Indy 11. He was loaned from the Chicago Fire to the Indy 11 in September of 2014, signed outright by the Indy 11 early in 2015. Again, third all-time in terms of appearances for the Indy 11. Seth Moses and the Indy 11 already looking for an 8th victory of the season and a 4th consecutive win, something in this club's 5-year history they have never achieved. It was a pair of first-half goals against Nashville SC on Tuesday night. One for Carl Wimet, becoming the 10th different Indy 11 player to score in a match this season. The other coming from Justin Braun. This Penn FC ball club has been scintillating offensively as well. In fact, these two teams have each scored 10 goals in their last 4 matches. Not exactly hard to figure out a reason for their recent run of success.
No, and virtually identical. Both have 3 wins and a draw in their last 4 matches. Both are clicking. They've scored more than they did in their first 10 matches.
Good pressure being applied by Juan Guerra. The long distance ball that Owain Fawn Williams able to track down quickly. The native of Wales. 7 clean sheets for the Indy 11. That tops the USL here to the halfway point of the season. Marco Franco and Justin Braun. That would have been a practice collision the last couple of years. Braun had a brace 2 weeks ago in the victory against Toronto FC 2.
And we saw it a bit during the 9 games that Paulo Jr. was with Indy 11 last year. And I was talking to Coach Voss. He said one of the reasons that they signed him is they wanted a creative player who could take guys on one-on-one and beat them and to create opportunities for other people.
Time now for our keys to this match. They are presented by your Central Indiana Honda Dealers, official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11.
And for Indy, you got to get Iose touches. He's red hot, and one of the things he does is he can stretch the field. If you play with a high back line against him, he's a guy that can deliver the ball over the top. If you overload strong side, he can deliver that ball weak side. And if you're unbalanced the other way, he's able to get forward and attack off the dribble and be a part of the attack that way. And then as far as keeping Trebek grounded, he's got 4 goals. He's a center back. He's their captain in the back. And the reason he's got 4 goals is because he comes up on set pieces. And 75% of his goals are off of that, so he has to be accounted for on corner kicks and balls in the attacking third. For Penn FC, be patient defensively. Indy 11 right now is red hot with their restarts. Iose is serving a great ball. You cannot give silly fouls in your defensive third. And one of the things Coach Voss wanted to do was stay out of the transition game.
Pedro Galvao has it tackled away by Seth Moses. We saw Galvao the last couple of years playing at FC Edmonton. Of course, Indy 11 and the FC Edmonton squads hooked up for a playoff match at Carroll Stadium. Former home of the Indy 11. 2 seasons ago, the lone postseason victory in Indy 11 history. 7 wins this year for the Indy 11. That has already equaled last year's win total. Just the 4th match of the month for the Indy 11. but a chance to have their most prosperous month in club history if they get the full 3 points tonight. They've never had more than 10 points in a single calendar month before tonight.
Prosperous.
Yep.
You got a financial theme tonight. You got Indy in the high rent district in the table. A prosperous month.
It is always time to cash in, Mr. Hodder. There is no doubt about that.
Speaking of cashing in, take a look at the way Penn FC is playing. They've got their 2 strikers up top with Dennis and Kosana, and then they're pushing their outsides up, and even their attacking midfielder is sliding in. At times, they've got 5 players on the Indy 11 back 4, and they're looking for that ball over the top. And because they're stretched so wide, so is the back 4 of Indy.
Take a quick glance at our injury report for tonight's match, brought to us by Community Health Network Sports Medicine, the official sports medicine provider of the Indy 11. That list continues to get smaller. Again, Pasher and Ferreira have been out now for extended periods of time. Suni Saad missing his 2nd match in a row, dealing with an oblique. The hope is we might be able to see him as a reserve at some point in time next week, rounding back into full fitness, because again, clearly he is a missing weapon. He is tied with Iose for the team leading goals scored with 4.
Yeah, a huge weapon off the field, especially when you take a look at how dangerous he is on set pieces. But you look at the way the team is built with the depth, and then you look at Justin Braun's reemergence, and you're saying, okay, you can afford to sit him. You can make sure that he is 100% healthy before you put him back in, as opposed to saying, hey, you're 80%, we need to get the points, we need a good result.
Last time we saw the Indy 11 here 3 weeks ago, Matt Watson had one of the 2 Indy 11 goals. Carlisle Mitchell had the other in a 2-0 victory against Atlanta United 2. Braun the long distance target here. And eventually that ball herded across the end line for a Romuald Pezer goal kick. Another one of the very familiar names. You see the 38-year-old. He speaks 5 languages. He has played in 7 countries. And he was a teammate of Carl Ouimet on the soccer ball winning team from the San Francisco Deltas in last year's North American Soccer League.
You look at these 2 teams, and there's so many similarities between, timelines as far as Penn FC forming and hiring Coach Voss and the late hire of Coach Rennie, and the way these teams were both built. And they were built with a lot of guys that both coaches are familiar with from NASL days. It makes our job easier since we spent the last few years there. Pezer is one of those guys. 2 out of the last 3 years, he has led his team into the final match, and last year pulled home a championship.
Pezer spent 3 years in Ottawa before spending last year with San Francisco. Tom Heineman, who is injured and is not playing tonight for Penn FC, was his teammate in San Francisco last year. We mentioned the fact that Carl Ouimet was his teammate, as was Heiner Ferreira, who has been out since being injured on March 31st in the home opener against FC Cincinnati. Good step by Watson. Mattern finds Watson. Good lead for Moses Braun, off to a good run, but
it's a right idea, just a little heavy ball.
A little quick on the turf tonight. The dimensions somewhat smallish here too, 110 yards by 70, but in a similar scenario, and you notice the kind of the smaller park on Tuesday, watching the Indy 11 match against Nashville SC at First Tennessee Field, the home of the Nashville Sounds. Penn FC also plays in a baseball park in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, so they're used to playing with kind of the smaller dimensions. This is Paolo Jr. Iose quickly takes it away, and then Paolo Jr. pressures and gets it right back. Marco Franco works his way around Ouimet. Paolo Jr. knocked free by McInerney. McInerney missed the first 2 matches of June. Foul whistle. McInerney was suspended for a yellow card accumulation and then missed an additional game for the conduct that earned him that 5th yellow card. So Jack has missed 3 matches this year due to yellow cards or the league saying he need to sit for a match. He plays with some anger. But of course, he also plays with 8 years of experience in Major League Soccer, despite the fact that I think he turns 26 in August.
I think you talk about that anger and that edge that he plays with. And I think when you're drafted out of high school and playing in the MLS, you have to grow up pretty quickly, and you have to get tough pretty quickly, not just physically but mentally. And you start seeing the results of that when a player starts reaching this age and starts maturing and his soccer IQ gets there. They don't lose that element that they had to develop early in their career.
McInerney made his pro debut at the age of 17 with the Philadelphia Union. Spent last year with the LA Galaxy, but did not see much in the way of playing time. One of the headlining offseason signings for the Indy 11. This Indy 11 team brought back just 3 players from last year's roster that won just 7 times over 32 matches.
You're a stat guy. What stat is it he holds? He's like the most goals for a player under a certain age, or the first one to reach 40, or what is that?
I'm just nodding my head and saying, yes, I agree with you. I'm not sure the stat you're referencing.
Holy smokes.
I'm sorry about that. I've only got 300 pages of notes in front of me. I do not have that in my notes.
I know, but you got 300 pages in front of you, but you got like 1,000 in your head.
But it sounds like a wonderful stat.
This is an incredible night.
Mark the tape, huh? So Owain Williams. He's certainly made his fair share of outstanding saves, but so much of the work has also been done because of the back 4 in front of him have been great about closing down scoring opportunities. It truly has been a team effort in having 7 clean sheets at this juncture of the season.
Yeah, you referenced Edmonton earlier, and we talked about this a lot with Edmonton, is that they give the back 4 gave very, very manageable opportunities to their goalkeeper. And you see that in the back 4 of Indy 11 here is, Owain Williams has had to make some big saves. The penalty kick for 1, he pulled 2 points back for the 11. But most of the stuff that he's had has been very manageable because of the way the back 4 has defended.
The Sports Match presented by Community Health Sports Medicine. Keeping athletes at the top of their game. Visit ecommunity.com/sports. Dream big, work hard, and finish strong. Carlisle Mitchell couldn't steer that one back in play, and a throw-in coming for Penn FC.
Something to watch here for both clubs. Look at the way the outside midfielders are pressing up, the interior midfielders pressing up, and how they're stretching the back 4 of Indy. They're looking to create some one-on-one opportunities. And so for Indy, can they get a help defender in position in those 1v1 opportunities?
Tremendous close down by Iose, an even better ball to Braun. However, it was ruled that he was just offside, but certainly the right idea. And you have seen 2 teams quickly have turned from defense to offense in tonight's matchup.
And that's the other part of that. On Indy 11's side is, can they quickly in transition exploit the fact that Penn FC is pushing 3 additional players forward?
By the way, our match referee is Greg Dobka. Distance ball, Venegas will settle for the Indy 11. He had his first Indy 11 goal 2 weeks ago in the victory against Toronto FC2. One of 4 away wins the Indy 11 have this year. That already matches their franchise high for a single season. That was set 4 years ago in the club's inaugural campaign. Keep our eyes on Justin Braun. He's going to come up a little bit gingerly a couple of times, and there's one area right now this team is not overly deep. It is at the forward position because of the absence of Suni Saad. Eugene Starikoff, I'm not sure he's 90 minutes healthy just yet. We saw him 3 weeks ago play the last 20 minutes against Atlanta United too. This team is blessed with several options in midfield. You kind of push McInerney forward if you need to, but that is worth watching during as busy of a stretch as the Indy 11 are going to have this year. The speed of Seth Moses forces Galvao to play that ball off to the side for an Indy 11 throw-in.
And while you've got a full bench tonight, you reference a couple guys like Starikoff are not fully match fit. If you can get into the 65th minute, it opens up your bench a little bit more, because half the guys on that bench are probably not able to go 70, 80 minutes, but can give you a good hard 30, 35 minutes.
The other players available tonight: Ben Spees, Brad Ring, Brad Russin. Zach Steinberger, Nathan Lewis, and Jordan Farr as the backup goalkeeper if needed for the Indy 11 tonight. Spies, Ring, and Steinberger all featured as substitutes in the second half in Nashville. Corner kick is earned by the Indy 11, and the lethal left foot of Iose makes his way to that corner. This is where they set up Carl Ouimet for his first Indy 11 goal on Tuesday night. Ouimet and Mitchell towards Pazer in goal for Penn FC.
And you always got to keep an eye on Justin Braun, as dangerous as he is in the air.
Iose with the service. Lucky Casada got there first for the visitors. Now Paolo Jr. will start to spring the counter for Penn FC. Watson with Paolo Jr. step for step. Eventually wins the foot race. Goal kick coming for Owain Fawn Williams.
Two savvy veterans that have probably chased each other across numerous fields in this country.
You see Owain Fawn Williams. He has played every minute of every match so far this year for the Indy 11. Only player that has done that. For Penn FC, they have not had a player appear now that we have begun this match. No player has played in more than 13 of their 16 matches so far this year. Fawn Williams content to kill some time and wait for some guys to pick up some real estate. Some 40, 50, or 60 yards away. Good settle by Braun.
You take a look at a delayed goal kick, allowing your team to walk up into position as opposed to having to play a back and forth game. You know, it's been in the 90s, 100-some degree heat index, and the roof is open today. So it's smart. Allow your guys to catch their breath, walk into position, get their shape, as opposed to having to jog and sprint in there.
Venegas from his right back position, having no problem playing as part of the attack. Good read by Watson. Watson tries to find Braun. Braun looking to make the turn, ask for a handball. They're not going to get it. And now on the long distance ball, Mitchell again quickly has to go to a defensive scenario. Able to draw the foul against the attacking Penn FC player. And Aaron Dennis. So a handball at the other end. That was the claim from the Indy 11. Take a look here. Looks like a handball. Now the question was, he was kind of going away from goal. Was he inside of the 18? Was he not? And yes, that was very close quarters. His arm was already in that position.
And the difficult thing with any of those kind of moments is it's weird how it almost always leads to transition and an opportunity the other way.
Because everybody kind of lets up for a minute.
There's just a
moment.
Yep.
And for those of you that are new fans of the sport, it happens every 4 years in the World Cup. We do not go to VAR at this level.
Oh, I tell you, I am going to be making that symbol every single time I can. I was going through withdrawal yesterday with no game.
They came back with two fantastic games today, with France and Uruguay advancing on. By the way, Raul Voss was the figure you saw on the sidelines for Penn FC, their first-year head coach. Opportunity here. Penn FC has had at least 2 goals in each of their previous 4 matches. You could say the exact same thing for the Indy 11. Casada got ahead to it, but really couldn't do much with it. Ouimet was in his right hip pocket, and Fawn Williams here to make the relatively easy play. There you see Lucky from Zimbabwe, spent a couple of years with the Tampa Bay Rowdies, 2 years with the New York Cosmos, played briefly in Finland in between his seasons with the Cosmos.
An interesting player, and then he's got a full array of tools in his toolbox. He can play with his back to goal and be a target. He can run at guys. He can be a creative player that sets up others.
You can check out all things Indy 11 in this time of year World Cup when you tune into Soccer Saturday every Saturday morning on 107.5 FM and 1070 The Fan. Martin Rennie, Carl Ouimet, our Indy 11 guests this week. Mariano Trujillo from Fox Sports' World Cup coverage was also a guest of ours as well. Paolo Jr. takes it inside of the 18. Shot taken, but not much on it for Penn FC. That ball was off the boot of Dan Metzger for the visitors. And now Braun, well-timed run. Able to sneak behind defensively. I thought it was well-timed. Our assistant referee thought it was not, and puts up the offside flag. And you can see Martin Rene's reaction to said call.
Yeah, it's tough when that run happens directly in front of your bench. Your guys are locked in on it, and it's tough to miss that call.
Reference Mariano Trujillo. He spent 3 years with Chivas USA as a teammate of Justin Braun. We had a good time catching up over Justin Braun stories earlier today. When informed of Justin trimming his hair during the offseason, he said he's a good-looking man. I'm sure he still looks fine. Guerra. Well, it's been 0-0, but not exactly a lack of action. Galvao with the read. Plays it across, and we met. Quick to step to it. Talked about this being a slightly smaller field in terms of dimensions, and both teams seem to be taking advantage of it, realizing you can go from defense to offense here quickly. Casada, he's offside. Sometimes you can have scoreless even through 20 minutes and it not exactly be entertaining. This has been entertaining so far, even if there truly hasn't been a nervous moment on goal for either team.
Well, it's that whole chess part that's coming out. You know, the push forward numerically with the Penn FC players has caused a few Indy 11 players to drop in. That's opened up the midfield. So you're looking at this transition game where when teams are winning it on the back, they're either taking it quickly off the dribble and exploding into that space, or they're looking to drive that ball right up to their forwards' feet.
All at the feet of Juan Guerra. He's got 4 options to choose from. Cannot clear Galvao. A creative clearance from Galvao. And once again, the counter is on for Penn FC. Casada making the run down the middle. The ball does not get through, off the feet of Aaron Dennis.
Not a bad thought from Aaron Dennis, but probably the wrong run. As stretched as you had the Indy back 4, he had his outside back 1v1, and instead of taking it to the outside, he ran right into the Indy 11 help defender.
This segment of the match is presented by the Room Place. Get it all at the Room Place. Dennis did play last year with Miami FC. Appeared in less than 10 matches for last year's regular season North American Soccer League champions.
That team was so loaded, I don't know how a young guy got any minutes. The fact that he got 9 games speaks highly to his level.
The former teammate in Miami and Calvin Resende is available for selection off the bench for Penn FC tonight. Brad Russin for the Indy 11 spent the last 2 years with Miami FC as well. We have several former teammates facing off in tonight's game. McInerney asking for a handball on Marco Franco. Does not get the call. McInerney instructed to give up some real estate on the throw-in.
Mentioned Brad Russin and former teams and teammates. Spent a lot of time playing in Denmark, so he's going to be glued in front of that television tomorrow.
As did you.
I, by marriage, am required to watch and text moments of that game.
It's not like your son is in the booth with us wearing a Denmark shirt tonight or anything like that either.
Yes, once they qualified, my wife got him both a home and away shirt.
See the foul on Casada. The rookie and Nico Matern drawing the contact. Matern, the first player from Indiana Wesleyan University to play for the Indy 11. And a young man that frankly was kind of brought in to be more of a training camp body than anything else, and was so impressive He earned a contract within a week.
Incredible story. That's the kind of thing that movies are made of.
Iose. Good service here. Payzer with the punch.
What a serve.
And that probably wasn't a situation for any player to go for goal for that spot, but it is worth noting with the absence of Soony Saad tonight. They like to use the phrase, he's got a full complement of tools in the toolbox. That is one less thing the Indy 11 can rely on, is potentially set-piece magic from Soony Saad being injured and out of tonight's match.
Right, but what a weapon you've got in Iose. And you take a look at the film study that Payzer has done on the serves from Iose, because he was off his line, and when it was put up there, he exploded to that dangerous spot. If he's a step back, if he gets beat to that ball, that's a little flick on.
Fan Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit SelectSportAmerica.com. You receive free shipping on orders over $50. Guerra, good read, as Moses to his right. Plays the ball to him accordingly. Now Moses charging forward. Moses, a good run going.
Fantastic.
The lead for Guerra. And it will be a goal kick. Last touch by Juan Guerra.
Tough. Seth Moses does everything to break things down, shift defenders into his space, and just a little too softly plays that ball in.
What we've cited about Seth is that he is built like almost a center back in terms of his physicality, but has the attack-minded nature of a forward.
And energy. And we saw him it was his first match he started was 3 weeks ago. And his 90th minute was just as explosive as his first minute.
Nervous moment here. Dennis able to split Venegas and Mitchell and track it down. 5 in the box for the Indy 11. Kosana was offside when the ball was sent his direction.
It's a savvy, brilliant step by Ouimet right there at the last moment to make Lucky Kosana make a decision. You either come back with Ouimet or you stand your ground and hope that somebody else keeps you on.
Carl has played against Lucky in each of the last 2 seasons. Carl spent 2016 with the Jacksonville Armada before playing with San Francisco. The goal that he scored on Tuesday, his first since scoring a pair for the New York Red Bulls 2 in the 2015 season. Quebec native. On Soccer Saturday this week, we spoke about the World Cup being played in Canada. That's a foul on Watson in 8 years. And he said, simply put, that is a goal of mine, is to be on that roster 8 years from now and represent my country in the World Cup when it's played in my country.
Imagine that feeling. I'm sure growing up as a young Canadian kid, you're not thinking Canada's going to host ever, and that the opportunity to play in front of your family and your country doesn't exist.
The guy you see on screen has represented his nation, as in Wales, Scotland, England, all part of the United Kingdom, but all having their own separate squads in terms of attempting to qualify for the World Cup. Watson, good win.
What a ball.
Braun, McInerney to his left, supporting runs trailing. The lead for McInerney. Lifts it up and over the bar.
Well played. Well played. A great first touch by Justin Braun. Some guys take that first touch, go down the line, and they send with their body language and the ball that they just touched that they're going to serve it, and defenders don't have to come out. They can just stand back into the box and look for the delivery. His first touch was aggressive into the post, and that makes Penn FC have to adjust to that ball.
McInerney thought that should have been a corner. It has been ruled as a goal kick, and really kind of tough to tell from that angle. McInerney scored the first Indy 11 goal of the season in the 1-0 victory against Richmond back on March the 24th. Well defended by Indy. Good right idea here. Watson tried to flick it forward. Couldn't sneak it past Kyle Benner. This Penn FC team last played 8 days ago, and they got an impressive road victory against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. It was the first regular season home loss for the Rowdies in 14 months.
It's incredible. That was a well-defended ball by Venner. You got Watson coming in and so much space behind the last defender. If Watson flicks it in there, you know Justin Braun's going to go get it.
Just looking to settle. Mitchell able to knock it clear. Fans, you can show your Indy 11 pride and get your exclusive Indiana Members Credit Union Indy 11 debit card at any Indiana Members Credit Union branch or online at imcu.com today.
Good no call.
McInerney with space. Iose to his left. Braun and Moses to his right. Great feature on Seth Moses for the last couple of weeks on Indy11.com. His experience of playing for Puerto Rico FC a year ago. Venegas sizing up his options. They were in the corner. Once again, Iose will make that slow trot to the far side quarter flag.
And the interesting thing about how this play developed here is it's just a really vanilla play in the middle of the field. Ball comes into Jack McInerney. He's at the attacking part of the center circle, and he immediately looks to goal to see where Pezer is, because he had checked a couple times and saw Pezer off his line and thought, hey, maybe I can have a go here. But just to have the tactical awareness of knowing where guys are on the field, that's high level.
Sana got to Jose's ball first last time. Braun was the target this time. It will be an Indy 11 throw in here. An assist for Iose here on June 9th. The ball to Carlisle Mitchell. Another assist for Iose on Tuesday. 4 goals and 4 assists for the guy his teammates call Io. And we have a water break at this point because of the weather conditions. Temperatures being in the high 90s today. And so I can't tell you the last time we've had one of these in a match. Took me kind of a minute to recognize what everybody was doing. I'm glad to see we have this because, frankly, the conditions merit it.
Yeah, 107, 110 degree heat index today.
You see a look inside Lucas Oil Stadium. This building celebrates its 10th birthday in a couple of months. Of course, it has hosted the Super Bowl back in 2012. It has been the home of the Indy 11 since a press conference in late January, where it was about 1,000 degrees cooler in late January when that press conference was held. All the seats are in the shade, and that was the case at the beginning of tonight's match. We kind of angle facing kind of north-northeast towards downtown. You saw that end zone camera look. So when you're here for a roof open game for the Indianapolis Colts, if you're sitting on the east side of the stands, bring your sunscreen. If you're coming in for a 7 o'clock soccer match, normally you're going to be out of the sun. You'll be in the shade. It's a little warm with the roof open, but cooler than, say, it would have been at the old days at Carroll Stadium, where there was nothing to protect you from the sun or the elements.
And this air is a little bit thick.
By the way, this portion of the match is presented by Honda Manufacturers of Indiana, official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11.
Rick, we stopped the match to have a water break here, and you did not touch your water. I think to keep you hydrated and make sure you can finish. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, keep talking.
Safety first.
Got to take a drink.
Safety first.
That was refreshing. Thank you. So Iose on the throw-in. We'll at least have a couple of minutes of stoppage time. The hydration break that was given to the players. Guerra. On a corresponding run to make that ball a difficult one for Pezer. Good read by Venegas, just couldn't make contact, however. Ball does deflect off of a Penn FC player. Nice move by Casada.
Clever ball.
Now Dennis on the run. 2 options in front of him. Slides it perfectly through. Well defended by Mattern. Looking for the back post. Sana cannot track it down inside of the 18. Paolo Jr. pressured by Iose. Marco Franco with the run going. Marco never scored a goal in his days with the Indy 11. However, Marco tied for the team lead in assists last year with 5 with Justin Braun. Justin, of course, did that in just half of a season because of injury last year.
Well, we really saw the attacking side of Marco Franco emerging last season. And, you know, he's always been a solid defender, but the pinpoint passing that he had and his ability to break down another team off the dribble was exceptional.
Only Brad Ring and Don Smart have made more appearances in an Indy 11 uniform than Marco Franco. Next closest person in terms of active players on the Indy 11 roster in terms of appearances is Justin Braun after Marco. Venegas with some space. Venegas.
Good decision.
Braun was offside.
Yep. He pulled it back. He wanted it. He pulled it back.
Let's find a little more time. Good read by Watson. To the ball first. Deflection off Venegas, but Mitchell quickly able to track it down. Native Trinidad and Tobago. Some of the conversations taking place from the sideline. Provide you some of the coaching insight. McInerney with the run. Did not have support from Braun on the play. It is Ioze and Suni Sa that currently lead the Indy 11 in goal score with 4. Justin Braun has now jumped to 3rd with 3. And if McInerney plays that ball, he's not onside.
And that's one of the things that the forwards for Indy 11 really have to be in tune with. Once there is that turnover, Ioze's got space in front of him. You're in the transition game. You've got to allow him the opportunity to deliver that ball immediately over the top. So you've got to stay on sides.
The Indy 11, as well as Penn FC early in the season, played a lot of 1-0 matchups. That has not been the case for either of these teams as of late. You see Martin running and Philip Dos Santos. Brain trust for the Indy 11 on the sidelines. Philip spent last year with the San Francisco Deltas. His brother Mark, the head coach. Mark now these days assistant coach to Bob Bradley with LAFC. And he is being talked about for a potential MLS job as of next year. A similar conversation was being had with James O'Connor with Louisville City FC.
That conversation's done.
And that conversation was signed into a contract yesterday as he's now the new head coach of Orlando City SC, as Paolo Jr. misses a Vanderjagt level of wide right on that offering.
I'll tell you, our time in the NASL watching Dos Santos with both Ottawa and San Francisco, he has to be one of the most impressive coaches I've seen. His counter-pressing, the way that he organizes his teams, the way that he picks the players to fit how he wants to play is just phenomenal.
Fans, the USL's official Twitter feed keeps you up to date with news, live game updates, and highlights from around the league 24/7. Simply follow @USL on Twitter. Getting away by Mattern. McInerney goes to the ground. Franco whistled for the foul. Good look at the hard foul by the former member of the Indy 11. And Marco never played in this building. All of his matches of Indy were held at the IUPUI campus a few blocks away at Carroll Stadium. Indy 11 played here on March 31st. The last soccer match held here was Chelsea and Inter Milan on August 1st of 2013. Giveaway by Penn FC. Pressure by Moses, and it deflects off a Penn FC player.
Pesky, he just doesn't let you get an easy touch.
It was off of Ken Tribbett, the team captain. As you talked about, one of their leading goal-scoring options as a center back with 4.
Think of how impressive he is. He's what, 25 years old? He's in his 3rd or 4th season, and he's the captain of the team and leading scorer as a center back.
Good work by Moses.
Speaks volumes to his character.
It's not a corner, it is a foul, but it will serve almost the same purpose from just a step or 2 inside of the sideline.
He served 2 pretty good balls. He's put them up there and allowed his teammates an opportunity to get on the other end of it.
Jose has to tell his former teammate Richard Menjivar to scoot back a little bit. Menjivar played limited minutes with the Cosmos last year. Jose's 3rd service of the night. It got to Mitchell, but he couldn't get much on it. Watson settles, trying to keep the attack alive, but is ruled to have fouled the Penn FC player. It is down on the turf. Player that is injured,
I think it's Opoku.
Is Opoku. Frederick Opoku. He is one of 4 players that hail from Ghana on the Penn FC roster. He is just 20 years of age, and he got an inadvertent elbow from Watson on the turn. Take a look here.
I mean, you can point to the screen. I don't think there's anything there that says it was intentional.
But he's going to get a yellow card. So the player wearing the captain's armband appears going to get booked by our referee, Greg Dobka. And the Brickyard Battalion not happy with the resulting yellow card. Martin Rennie isn't happy about it either.
And yet you get it. It's an inadvertent elbow, and yet there is such emphasis right now on protecting players, and so anything to the head is going to be looked at differently than if it's just a casual foul.
The only player really on yellow card watch right now for the Indy 11 is Jose. He picked up a late yellow for time wasting against Nashville on Tuesday night. He had just had one rescinded a week earlier. He now is back on 4 yellows, so the next yellow for Jose means he is going to miss the next match. Keep your eye on that as the match continues tonight. Casada couldn't find any room to breathe. Good settle here. Von Williams snares it. In a scenario where you could not allow a rebound, Von Williams does exactly that.
They're throwing so many players in the boxes, and because of that, the 11 have to drop so many back. There's so many chances for a ricochet or a rebound in there.
This Sports the Match presented by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. Take your business to the next level in a state that works. So no card shown for that foul. A chance for Indy 11 to, again, move some players forward.
I like that ball.
Moses did not work around Galvao. Watson flicks it forward. Guerra couldn't settle it. Javar goes to the turf for Penn FC. Good read by Mater. Guerra with some space to operate. McInerney to Braun. Again, the pressure by Guerra. Now Watson. McInerney. Just a little too much on that ball for McInerney. Sports the Match presented by Turkish Airlines. Widen your world. We're going to see at least a couple of minutes of stoppage time because of the water break that occurred at the 30-minute mark because of the warm conditions in Indianapolis today. Really hasn't been anything else that would merit stoppage time. Extended arm off of Dennis is the reason for the whistle there.
Good decision.
Guerra finds Iose. McInerney. Not sure if Iose spotted him. Gets to him now. McInerney. Will restart quickly. Mitchell has that one ricochet off of Casada. Settled by Venegas. Braun offside. He's been flirting with that line throughout the course of the night. He was whistled for one that I didn't think he was offside for. That one he clearly was. 19 goals in the Indy 11 uniform. Second only to Eamon Zayed, who we will see back in the building a week from tonight with the Charlotte Independents. This 3-game and 8-night series was kind of dubbed the staycation package for the Indy 11. Could have called it homecoming week too. We've got Marco Franco, Paolo Jr. tonight. We'll see Colin Falvey here on Wednesday when the Indy 11 take on Ottawa Fury. Zayed with the Charlotte Independents here on Saturday night.
All fan favorites too. All guys that not only did it on the field, but were great in the community as well.
2 minutes of added time. And our stoppage time presented by your Central Indiana Honda Dealers, official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11. Franco, good read. Nice job by Mattern. He has been such a difference maker defensively for this club. Watson. Drawn onside this time. Watson trying to find him. Guerra will steer it towards McInerney.
Good touch.
Another touch by McInerney, but that one too strong, and Pazer going to lay back and play that one relatively easily.
You talk about what a difference Mattern makes on the field, and when he and Watson are paired together in the times that they've been there, that is a really tough center of the field to break down.
Want to get exclusive video content and photography from across the USL? Make sure to follow the league's official Instagram account at USL Soccer. Well, a very evenly played opening 45 minutes. A lot of action in the midfield. Nothing in the way of tremendous saves really have had to been made yet. Not sure the ball that Fawn Williams kind of snared with his gloves will count as a save. He's just trying to make sure there wasn't a rebound or wasn't exactly a cross. We've called the keepers' names, but they haven't exactly prevented a ball from going in behind them to this juncture of the match just yet. Pazer has played in Germany, Romania, Portugal, Switzerland, France, Canada, and the U.S.
And that's what the veteran keepers is. You know, they can read the game and prevent a shot from happening just by positioning and organizing their backs.
Well, a very fair result in the opening 45. No goals on the board. 0-0 our score after 1 half of play. A chance for these guys to hydrate a little bit more during halftime. It didn't look sluggish out there in the park, let's put it that way, from our first half of play. Coming up on our halftime show, we'll have highlights from half number 1, stats as well, a look around the USL, not to mention some highlights from recent matches in this league to boot. The first of 3 at home this week for the Indy 11, and looking to make it a 4th consecutive win. Right now, both teams are getting a point. 0-0 in Indianapolis. Zeros on the board so far in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. There were still some highlights from this match from half number one that we will show you in a few minutes. But right now, a look around the USL at some recent highlights, both in terms of finding the back of the net and the guys whose job it is to prevent that from happening.
A salute is certainly in the works. Thank you, Marcel. Marcel Schaefer playing it. Can he service one in? Goal! Leon Taylor from Marcel Schaefer.
There's no question we've had our fair share of impressive free kicks this season.
Van Aving. Off the crossbar and in, and it's 1-0 Reno. Here comes Malcolm, takes a shot, and he scores! Shane Malcolm off the free kick, puts Switchbacks FC on top.
He lines this up, he's going to drill it hard. Curling ball, that's in, it's tied to 2-2. What a free kick. Really looks interesting.
Here is Kuzay curling it! Sensational strike!
Enter now, pocket of space.
Deflected strike. That's a fantastic save. Dykstra just drawn through Mark. Ball still loose in the area.
Left foot, Van Okel had to come up with the save.
Good build-up play. Wakaso shoots. Great save by Nelson.
Now it's going to be Bajevin. Now sprawled. Gomez comes up with a big six.
In space. This is played back across for White. Saved by Crapo.
Sanovic on his left. Seth Sanovic.
Shot on goal. It's in. Cameron Owasa with number 6 on the year.
Cipollani staying with it. Cipollani back across. Yes. And how about North Carolina FC? Got some help. This is a shot that finds the back of the net. Number last man back, and it will be Reed who will score again. Reed inside the 18. Left-footed strike, and it's a hat trick. For number 30.
Shot comes on, and Akira able to use his fists.
Omar can't finish. Great save of the left foot there by Marcinkowski.
Once again, back at Lucas Oil Stadium. The Indy 11 weren't featured on those highlights. Trust me, they've had plenty of times finding the back of the net in the month of June, which has led to one of their best months in franchise history, despite this is just the 4th match they have played so far this season. Let's talk about the recent run of form for the Indy 11. Again, they have won their last 3 matches, looking to win the 4th consecutive match for the first time in franchise history. What have they done so well as of late? Score goals. They've scored 10 now in the last 4 times they've played, Brad.
And it's come from a variety of players, so you can't just key on one aspect of the Indy 11 attack.
Iose has been a big part of that. We talked about that during the course of the pre-match festivities as well. But again, you're seeing names like Venegas, Ouimet, Carlisle Mitchell, and of course, Justin Braun finding that return to form.
Yeah, and the play of Venegas, and you see it out here, you're starting to see that guy that Minnesota said, hey, when we go to the MLS, you're coming with us.
All right, so with that, this has led to the Indy 11 being now 4th in the table in the Eastern Conference standings. A look now around the USL is presented by our friends out Crown Plaza, Indianapolis downtown. Other scores, again, we'll see Charlotte here in 7 days. Bethlehem Steel, they were talented when we saw them in May. Get a 2-1 victory here. FC Cincinnati, a 1-goal lead early against Ottawa Fury FC. The Richmond Kickers with an early 1-goal lead at halftime. And Louisville City FC, their first game without James O'Connor in franchise history. An early 1-goal lead against the New York Red Bulls, too. We'll talk to Indy 11 head coach Martin Runny, plus show you halftime stats and highlights when we come back as you're watching Indy 11 soccer on MyIndy TV and ESPN+. Once again, back at Lucas Oil Stadium, Greg Rakestraw, Brad Hodder with you on My Indy TV and ESPN Plus. 0-0 our score at halftime. Brad, your thoughts on the opening 45 minutes?
I thought it was an even match. I think if I'm Penn FC, I'd like to take fewer touches in the box, maybe get a shot off. They've been dangerous up until that final touch. And then if I'm looking at Indy, I'd love to see a little bit more in the transition game off the dribble. They're picking it up off the back line. They've got 30 to 40 yards, and they're looking to knock it into a 1-on-4 or a 2-on-4. Take a little bit of that space, pull a defender in, and then look to play it in.
In terms of trying to capitalize on the fact that Penn FC is throwing numbers forward, what tactical changes, if any, do you see for the Indy 11?
Well, you'd like to see, you take a look at like Matt Watson coming out of the middle and carrying the ball off the dribble and attacking that space. That's one. That can unbalance the back line of Penn FC. But then you'd also like to see, instead of guys right on the edge looking for that ball over the top, maybe have a guy check back and give that option as well.
All right, first half highlights. Again, neither team finding the back of the net in the opening 45 minutes, but still some quality moments from both sides in half number one. And both teams were quick to go from defense to offense in the opening half.
Yeah, the midfield was an interesting dynamic where sometimes it was a little bit of short touch play and other times it was just bypassed.
And again, having to make sure there was no rebound there with Dennis kind of sitting and waiting to pounce on that. The ageless one pays there quickly off his line to punch that one away.
Yeah, and it's two veteran goalkeepers, and it's one of the things that can really diffuse an attack.
Justin Braun, he's had 3 in his last 2. I mean, that's the best look on goal so far for the Indy 11.
It was a great play, a good run by McInerney, cut inside of the defender.
Just 4 shots and only 1 of those really on target. Possession more in favor of Penn FC. They've been the more aggressive team in terms of fouls. Anything that fouls stat tells you?
I don't know. And I take a look at the possession one, and that seems to be such an out of balance kind of stat that even you look at the Portugal game, it's the team that's going to hold 60-70% doesn't matter.
Penn FC has not played in the last 8 days. Indy 11 played 4 days ago. Does that play a factor in the second half tonight?
You started seeing it in the last 5-10 minutes of the first half. There was immediate pressure on the ball, and it was group defending. There were 2 to 3 guys from both teams that immediately pressed the ball. In the last 5 to 10 minutes, that was consistent for Penn FC, but Indy 11 was a little bit late in their pressure.
Again, this is the midst of maybe the busiest stretch of the season for the Indy 11. They had 2 10-day breaks in the month of June. So you've heard us reference it's been a great month, despite the fact this team has now played just 4 times during the month of June. But they've got now 3 more really in the next 10 days after this one. So they are at home for each of the next 2. July 4th, Ottawa Fury FC. By the way, that game will be the nationally televised game of the week in the USL. That game is on ESPNU. So the next time you can see our sweet angelic faces will be on Saturday night when the Charlotte Independents are here on July 7th. After that, the Indy 11 aren't home again until August the 15th. So their next 4 are on the road, 3 of those in July at the Charleston Battery. Then you have another break before you go play the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And then a Thursday 11 a.m. kickoff against Bethlehem Steel FC. But if you look at that schedule graphic, it looks a lot like the standings in the Eastern Conference. It is a busy month, but it's very much a real estate month for this club. They're up to 4th now. They're playing a lot of the teams around them in the Eastern Conference in July.
And that's why it's so important to pull 3 points here. You've played a good match. You got a good 45 minutes under your belt. If you can finish with another solid 45 minutes and grab a point or 2 heading into this busy week, that's going to be so valuable.
So the teams are making their way back out from the locker room, and Martin Rennie is making his way over to our sideline interview location on our coach's interview. Presented by Turkish Airlines, the official international airline of Indy 11 soccer. Turkish Airlines, widen your world. You see Justin Braun on screen getting ready for half number 2. Let's go to Coach Martin Rennie now. Martin, what was your message to your guys at halftime?
Well, just to try and exploit the space in the middle of midfield a little bit more. We can create a 3v2 in there more than we have been. And when we do break through the midfield, we look dangerous. We just need to use the ball a little bit better, have a little bit better timed runs behind. If we can get that, then I think we'll be in good shape in the second half.
Anything you need to change from a tactic standpoint in terms of kind of the quickness that Penn FC showed in terms of going from the back line to charging forward and heading towards your goal?
Yeah, we have to be aware of the counter-attack. We've talked about that. Obviously, they're leaving players high in those positions to break. But at the same time, we want to go and take the game to them, so we have to manage both sides of that.
Coach, thanks for the time. We'll talk to you after the match.
Thanks.
Head coach of the Indy 11 in Martin Rennie. Your thoughts, what he had to say?
I think he's right. You take a look at the midfield, I think, is going to dictate this game. And it's whether you possess through there or it's whether you bypass it. And those decisions have to be made based on the space and based on the position. You look at how Penn FC is pushing players high. How they've lined up, it's almost like a 5-5. And so they've given this gap of space in the midfield. And can the gamble that they've taken by pushing that many players high pan out for them, or can Indy get them in transition?
It's an area code. It's a 5-0-5. They've eliminated the middle. 5 guys in the back, 5 guys in the front. Midfield has not been needed for Penn FC so far in this match.
Now, do you have an idea what the 505 area code is? What area of the country?
Sounds
if it's
like
in Pennsylvania, that's going to be
sounds
incredible.
like California for some reason. Should I just dial up on my phone and see what happens?
That would be great. Use that internets thing.
Neither team makes a substitution to start half number 2. Mitchell going down to the turf. Dennis rolled up, committed the foul. So foul number 11 against Penn FC in this match. And Mitchell and we met have kind of followed the path of this team's success in June. When they've been on the field, good things have happened for the Indy 11. Brad Russin is the backup at either center back position. Brad Ring can play that spot in a pinch if needed. But as those two guys have been the pairing as of late.
And they've had their hands full tonight, because you look at Kosana and you look at Dennis, and you've got 2 very different players. One, you've got a big, strong, physical guy that can play a blue-collar, meat-and-potatoes game, and you got Dennis, who's flashing into spaces and trying to create things off the dribble. And, thank goodness that Tommy Heineman's not here, because he's kind of a combination of all of that, and what a handful he would be.
Tommy has played against the Indy 11 for each of the last 4 seasons. Spent 2 years with Ottawa Fury, 1 year with the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and then last year with the San Francisco Deltas. Tom, a native of St. Louis, that spent 3 years in Major League Soccer. Some time with the Columbus Crew and the Vancouver Whitecaps. In fact, his time with the Vancouver Whitecaps, as I say it out loud, would have overlapped with Martin Rennie.
There's a lot of guys that have, and you take a look at both Coach Voss too. You take a look at their time in the different leagues and with the different teams that they've coached in. And when you get a job late and when you're building a team, you build it with guys that you trust, you've got experience with, and both of these coaches have done that.
Matt Watson comes to mind immediately for the Indy 11.
The way he's played, the kind of person he is, that's got to be one of your first calls.
Matt played for Martin in both Vancouver and in Carolina. And Braun fouled. And it's Tribbett that commits the foul.
You see a foul like that on Justin Braun, and you immediately kind of hold your breath a little bit. Think about last year and hope it is nothing related.
Braun had 8 goals in half a season last year for the Indy 11.
Just incredible.
Opportunity here. Dennis quickly knocked away by Mitchell.
Clever step. Carlisle Mitchell, great read. Same thing, Tribbett, great read.
Braun was trying to settle that to spring Watson forward.
And I think from the vantage point that Tribbett had, he could see that developing and understood what Justin was going to try and do, and stepped in and diffused the situation before he could get a touch.
You heard us reference this in the first half. Again, these are teams that have found the back of the net twice, at least twice, in each of their last 4 matches. Why tonight has it been different for these two teams, Brett? Is because they're so similar in how they play?
I think they're similar, but both of them have, it's crazy, but both of them really start from the back. They've committed to building their back line. You take a look at the first call from Coach Voss when he was building his team, was to Pazer. It's like, hey, I got to get myself a veteran goalkeeper. So you look at how they've both been built, and it's defense in mind. In fact, I was talking to Justin Braun this week, and I'm like, hey, you guys are scoring 2.5 goals a game. How does it feel? He's like, hey, the reason the turnaround was because of recommitment to the way that we defend.
Alongside Brad Hodder, Greg Rakestraw with you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium. Approaching the halfway point of the year, both in terms of the overall schedule and in terms of matches at Lucas Oil Stadium. And after next Saturday, this team is not at home until August the 15th. It is a somewhat similar tale for Penn FC. We'll explain that in a minute. Dennis is onside. His first touch was strong. We met, flat tackles him, and that's a point to the spot. There is no doubt about that. That's a penalty opportunity.
Clever interplay between Dennis and Kosana.
And that is a yellow shown.
And Tribbitt is coming in asking for the red, saying last defender. You're not going to get it, but it's worth the argument.
The flick here by Kosana, fantastic. And again, the run was perfectly timed. And Ouimet is saying, hey, that happened outside of the 18, and he might be right. But again, this is
where you get that the VAR symbol here, Rake. This is where you're starting to do that.
This is not a league with VAR. Again, we have that luxury. I think Carl's got a point. There's a spot kick for Kosana as he looks for his 5th goal in his last 3 matches. Von Williams saved a penalty earlier this year. The victory against North Carolina FC back on April the 7th. So neither team has generated much in the run of play until just now. Into the Brickyard Battalion end. Kosana scores. And Penn FC with the early in the second half 1-goal lead. And let's see if that opens the floodgates for these 2 high-powered attacks in the month of June.
Well, there's a couple things that can happen now. Penn can decide to drop their midfielders back into the center of the field and look to contest the center a little bit more than they have been because they don't need a goal. And now Indy has to open up a little bit and push. Interesting on the penalty kick too, because you wouldn't think Kosana is your go-to guy on the penalty kick, but as hot as he is, sometimes as a coach you say, look, let's keep him hot. Let's make sure he's scoring every game.
When you've scored 5 in the last 2 weeks, you're the guy taking the spot kick
Get up there.
at that point. This portion of the match is presented by Community Health Sports Medicine. Keeping athletes at the top of their game. Visit ecommunity.com/sports. Dream big, work hard, and finish strong.
And if this first 30 seconds off the goal is any indication, Penn FC has tucked their midfield back into the middle of the field. It's just going to make it a little bit more difficult for Indy to find space and opportunity there.
Penn FC entered the night 9th in the Eastern Conference, but just 3 points back of the Indy 11, currently sitting in 4th. I believe that a foul has been called here, and that might have been maybe contact with an extended arm on the cross sent in by Iose. So instead of a goal kick, it is a set piece opportunity from just outside of the 18.
And this is a good spot. This is a good spot for the way Iose serves.
One-man wall is Paolo Jr. for Penn FC.
Hey, there's a good opportunity to bend that ball right around Paolo, lay it right outside the 6. Have Braun, Mitchell, or Ouimet go up and get it.
Jose sends it in. Back post looking for Mitchell. But a foul has been called against the Indy 11. Fans, how well do you know the USL? Test your knowledge in USLsoccer.com's weekly picks competition every Tuesday. And you could win tickets to an upcoming USL game of your choice. Only problem is you're probably not going to win this week because you're going against me.
Oh my goodness.
So good luck with that.
Have you checked? How are your picks
no,
lining up with
this coming week?
This
coming week, yes.
I got
yes.
So you're kind of scouting here tonight.
A little bit. Now there are other experts other than just yours truly. You did this first week of the season.
I did, yeah.
So we're going to see the first Penn FC substitution here in a matter of moments. Isaac Osei is ready to enter this match for Penn FC. Good pressure by Dennis. Better job by Mautern to withstand it. These are 2 teams that have been playing significantly better as of late. McInerney, Braun making the run. McInerney goes to ground, no whistle. Moses, perfect ball to Venegas, but Venegas had just taken that step a bit too early. And the offside flag goes up yet again. We'll now see that substitution, and Paolo Jr. just signed earlier this week. Not exactly 90 minutes fit just yet. So Osei will come in and replace him, the 24-year-old from Ghana.
And you could see it a little bit in Paolo Jr.'s recovery run. That's typically where it starts to reveal itself. You know, when you're going to goal, you find that extra little bit of energy. You're able to keep up with play, but it's a little bit tougher defensively when you're chasing things down.
29-year-old from Brazil. Paolo had 4 different stops with the Fort Lauderdale Strikers during their NASL days. He played 9 games in the second half of the season with the Indy 11 last year. Paolo Jr. exits, Osei enters. 2 remaining subs now for Penn FC. Osei immediately ended up in a scoring opportunity. Moses and Kasana. A quick collision. Neither suffered from it.
Good read.
Monturn's defensive work needs to be outstanding. Ouimet didn't get the clearance on that one that he wanted.
And tough bounce. Tough bounce. Came off a little funny for him.
It is a goal, or excuse me, a corner coming for Penn FC. This porch of the match presented by Denny Excavating. Denny Companies tearing down the past so you can build the future. I believe this is the first corner of the match for Penn FC.
Looks like Starikoff is making his way to the 4th official.
We said he might have 30 minutes in his legs, and it's about when he's getting ready to enter. Ball sent in. Von Williamson got a good read to it. Realized he couldn't catch it. Punched it away. Throw in coming for Penn FC. His team, formerly known as the Harrisburg City Islanders until this year. Purchased by Rush Soccer during the offseason and rechristened as Penn FC. Outstanding read here by Galvao. Sends it across, and Mitchell knocks it back to midfield. McInerney had to get back on side. Why he didn't go after that ball. Back to safety to Pazer. This segment of the match presented in part by the Room Place. Get it all at the Room Place.
It's one of those, the last attack there, Galvao, you know, he's a little bit gassed. It's a long run. He does have the defender set up for the early serve. He decides to cut it back, take an extra touch or 2, and that's when it gets caught under his feet a little bit. Sometimes, you know, just simple is better.
First Indy 11 substitution this game will be Eugene Starikoff. He'll replace Seth Moses. Starikoff played in each of the first 2 matches of the season. Injured, did not see him again until June. And began his process of working his way back into the rotation. The last home match 2 weeks ago against Atlanta United too. And now all 3 former members of the New York Cosmos from a year ago that played for the Indy 11 are on the pitch.
And Starikoff has just a cannon of a right foot.
Good work by Marco Franco. For the last 4 years, that meant good things for the Indy 11. That time, not so much. Great positioning by Montturn, draws the foul. Venegas pushing forward as the right back. His footwork to get past 2 players, but ends up fouling the 3rd. And now we'll come back and reset at the spot of the foul. And Galvao, the player, writhing in pain on the turf. Galvao's spent part of the last 2 seasons playing for FC Edmonton. Indy 11 team came in tonight looking for a 4th consecutive win. That has never happened in franchise history. Last time they won 3 straight was October of 2016. A Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday trio of matches.
You remember what the weather was on the Wednesday night? Because I got the Saturdays, but the Wednesday I don't remember.
It was in Tampa Bay. It was at Al Lang Stadium. So Tampa in October, probably a pretty nice place to be.
Humidity about 70%.
Well, you and I did the broadcast. We weren't actually there, so I can't tell you. You might have had that night up. That might have been a Mark Newman special, by the way. You may not have been on the call that night. That was one of 2 road victories for the Indy 11 in 2016, by the way.
I'm always with you. Always with you.
In spirit?
Yes.
Fans, you can keep up with the best social media from around the USL. Join Kelsey Steele every Friday on the USL social media channels for the latest edition of Off the Post. Starikoff, good ball to Braun, but Braun again ruled to be offside.
I'll tell you, the back line of Penn FC has been doing a great job. They're dropping, they're keeping play in front of them. And then right at that moment, when the Indy 11 player is looking to deliver that ball, just a little half step to pull them off sides.
It's the first time this year Mitchell ruled to have fouled Osei. First time this year that the Indy 11 have played a former member of the Indy 11.
Wait, did you say first time this year or first time ever?
First time this year.
I just didn't hear. I was getting ready to get a drink, so I didn't hear you.
It's time for your water break. By the way, this portion of the match presented by Honda Manufacturers of Indiana, official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11.
Now here's where you got to watch Tribbett. I mean, leading scorer. Well, not anymore with Kosana, but so dangerous in the air. Got to make sure you account for him.
Menjivar will take it. And Fawn Williams made that look relatively routine. Quick distribution. Starikoff couldn't keep it in play, and Fawn Williams not happy with the effort on that one.
I'm going to take a look at it. You know, Kosana was harassing him just a bit on that play, enough that you could probably make the call.
If this result holds, Penn FC will leap into a tie with the Indy 11 in terms of 24 points in the Eastern Conference. Fawn Williams out past the 6 to make the play. The halfway point for the Indy 11 for the season is Wednesday's match against the Ottawa Fury. That'll be a foul against Mater.
Yeah, and got to be a little quicker in transition. You had the back line exposed, and you just took too many touches and too many short passes in the middle.
And Justin Braun's consecutive matches scoring streak will end at 2. As he will exit, Ben Spees will make a substitute's appearance for the 2nd time this week. Teammates for each of the last 2 years. He's trying to carve out a niche with this Indy 11 club as a bit of a super sub and a guy that can play both kind of a forward and midfielder's role if needed.
Yeah, he's got multiple skills that he's able to play both of those positions, but that was a role that actually brought him to Indy. He excelled in that super sub role up in Minnesota, where I think the year before he came to Indy, he scored 3, maybe 4 times within 5 minutes of being subbed.
On the cross, back post, Iose got there first. Dennis was the player close to it for Penn FC. Spees 4 goals and 4 assists a year ago for the Indy 11 in 28 matches played. And a foul against Penn FC. And Metzger, the guilty party.
Be interesting to watch now Spees' run, looking at how Penn FC has been pulling the 11 forwards off sides. If Coach Rennie, Coach DeSantos maybe had a word and say, hey, let's tweak the runs, let's look to do this.
Space to operate for Penn FC. Opoku. Overshot the target just a bit in Osei. The Bounces in this half have gone the way of Penn FC. Fawn Williams watches that one sail up and over the bar. Our only goal so far, a penalty converted upon by Lucky Kosana. Just one sub remains for the Indy 11. 25 plus minutes left to go in the match. Penn FC has 2 at their disposal.
Good ball.
Spees trying to slide it through to McInerney. Flags up. I'm not sure I have seen this team have more offside flags in a match this season than we have seen tonight.
Yeah, and the tough part is it's going to happen. You know, you've got Penn FC who's drawn a great offsides line and pushing well. The problem is there's no adjustment from the Indy 11 forwards. Every run is straight down the field, straight down the field. You got to have a checking run, maybe cut at some angles, maybe go across the front of the back line. But what's happening right now isn't working. So there's got to be an adjustment made in the mentality in the attacking pieces.
These two teams will play again one more time this season. Von Williams able to snag that one. That match will be September the 12th, a Wednesday night in Harrisburg. The schedule is definitely filled with patterns for Penn FC. They'll play their next 2 at home. They will then play 7 in a row on the road. They will not be at home from July the 9th until September the 8th. But once they get to September the 8th, they do not leave the vicinity again. Their last 9 matches are at home this year.
You know, the interesting thing with Harrisburg, you wouldn't think of it as this soccer mecca. Penn FC is looking to build this entire club.
McInerney gets the takeaway. Let's finish that thought in a moment. Corner kick coming.
Looking to build from the ground up, but they have decades of professional soccer in Harrisburg. And it's not one of the ones that rolls off the top of your head. You know, you think Chicago, you think LA, New York. But Harrisburg has had a pro team either indoor or outdoor for decades.
This will not be the left foot of Ioze. It is the right foot of Venegas. And before he takes it, the conversation going to take place from our referee, Greg Dopka. The usual suspects for the Indy 11. Mitchell and Ouimet, the likeliest of targets. Good curving ball by Venegas, but over hits it. And of no threat, and a throw in coming to Penn FC. Fans, you can download the official Indy 11 app now to be the first to receive breaking team news and highlights, available on the app stores for Apple and Android devices. Not been as much space to operate for the Indy 11 in the midfield in this second half as we saw in the first. Watson does a good job of drawing the foul. This Indy 11 team has not been shut out in league play since a 0-0 draw against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds back on May the 11th. They were blank in their U.S. Open Cup match some 5 days later in Mississippi. Tonight's performance kind of goes against the grain of what we have seen for the last month and a half. Ioze sends it in. Starikoff was the target. Well done by Ioze.
Good ball.
Then hit to Starikoff. Mitchell needed to play up as he was a target on the set piece. Works his way around the defender in Galvão. Mitchell plays it across. Pezer got his hands on it.
Great read by Pezer. If he doesn't attack that ball on the front post, that's a goal.
And Mitchell heading back to the other end. Has a long run to get back to that center back position. NFC right now does not appear to be in that big of a hurry. Outstanding read by Venegas.
Great touch, too.
Able to settle.
On a dead sprint, bringing that ball down.
Going back to that last set piece again, it's of note that Suni Saad is not playing tonight. That's one less offensive weapon, a scenario like that for the Indy 11.
You look at the body language on the field right now. I don't think it's due to the 1-0 score line. I think it has a lot to do with Tuesday, in that the 11's legs look very, very tired right now.
And it's that balance trying to find as a coach in terms of, hey, you want to continue to play the lineup that has been so successful for you.
No argument there.
Then you balance that against
minutes, and yeah, it's it's one of the toughest things is to pick that. You know, you've got a lineup that's hot.
Jose, fantastic work. Might we see a card? The answer is yes. The card directed, I believe, at Menjivar, which is Ray around Dennis. That is not Richard Menjivar. So the card goes to Dan Metzger. First yellow shown the direction of a Penn FC player tonight. By the way, this portion of the match presented by Turkish Airlines. Widen your world. Now, it's one of the things we've talked about as the reason for success for the Indy 11 this month is consistency, lineup consistency. Second match in 5 days for the Indy 11, but they had a 10-day break before that, just the fourth match of the month. So I understand Martin really trying to ride the hot hand, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, you can't win as a coach. You change it up to get fresh legs in, and then you get criticized because the touch is off or the rhythm's off.
Collision. Starikoff ruled to have committed the foul. That might be Marco Franco that's down. It is. One of my favorite Marco stories from his days with the Indy 11. Having 35 members of his friends and family from California coming to watch his playoff match against FC Edmonton 2 years ago. And then I got to hang with a good chunk of the Franco family, their second match in San Francisco last June when I was out there for a match. And there was about 10 of them there. He said, that's just a small group that came to watch this one. Former draft pick of the Chicago Fire, played his college soccer at UC Irvine. Take a look at the last collision between Starikoff and Franco.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if this is going to be the official water break here at this juncture of the half. Certainly the teams are kind of taking it in that direction.
I will too. I recommend you do as well. Don't need you getting lightheaded and towards the end of this broadcast. I think there's going to be some fireworks coming up.
So either they'll play a man down temporarily with Penn FC, or they might bring in a substitution. Available subs off the bench for Penn FC tonight. Harry Hawkins, Jake Bond, Salih Muhammad, who also spent last year in San Francisco with the Deltas, Calvin Resende, Prince Bafo, and already sent into the contest is Isaac Osei. They need a substitution for Pazer for some reason. Sean Lewis would get that nod. He too a player we are familiar with, spent 2 years, was at Jacksonville 2 years ago when his coach was Tony Miola. By the way, Tony has done a wonderful job.
Oh my goodness.
On the World Cup coverage. He's been partnered up with JP Delacamera.
What a team, what a broadcasting team. You take a look at the analysis on every goal that Tony has given.
For on the latest league news, be sure to visit uslsoccer.com. Earlier I said Pazer was fluent in 5 languages. I misspoke. He only speaks 4 of them fluent.
That's a tough ball to bring down on a run with the defender in your back.
Pazer is a time-wasting mode at this juncture. goals and run of play in this match, just one from the spot. What was clearly a foul. I guess the only debate would be, was it actually inside of the 18 or not? One of those with the naked eye, you go, clearly that's a penalty. You go back and look at it and say, well, maybe he was just outside of the 18.
Right.
Casada converts on his opportunity. And Ouimet gives a foul, and if that's a yellow on him, that means he's done for the night, and he will be. The Indy 11 will play a man down as Ouimet picks up his second yellow of the match. An up and down week for Carl. He's already close to the locker room. I think he was starting to head that way, and he will be. So the Indy 11 will play a man down for the first time in a while. It also means that Ouimet will miss Wednesday's match against Ottawa Fury.
Tough loss. You know, you're stuck as a player right there. You've got a decision to make. Do you let Dennis go in on a breakaway? Because that's a great move. That's a great ball he plays. Do you let him walk in, or do you take the foul and put your team down a man?
The 11 do have one substitution if they feel the need to bring in an extra center back. Mitchell gets a boot to that, and Fawn Williams able to track it down. They still may elect just to save that sub as an attacking player, and knowing you're down a goal already, maybe just play three at the back at this point.
There's still a lot of time left in this match, and so if you're going to go after this, it's a one-goal game. You still have a chance, and so is it fresh legs in the attack?
Go defensive, Russin or Ring would be the options. From an attacking standpoint, probably Steinberger or Lewis are what would be left on the bench. To the back post, Dennis able to settle and keep in play.
Well, he's been impressive. He's been impressive.
By the way, we will see his former teammate with Miami FC from last year when the Indy 11 faced the Tampa Bay Rowdies on July the 21st. Kwadwo Poku was signed by the Rowdies in the last couple of weeks. He'd been playing in Russia earlier in the year.
It's a good turn. It's a good turn.
The long distance ball to Starikov. Galvao is with it.
Good bounce.
Starikov read it well. Starikov goes to the turf. Fisher said he went a little too easily. And draw a penalty, eventually level the match. Now Guerra does earn the free kick from outside of the 18.
What a turn by Starikov.
Starikov's minutes have been so limited this year. Fans are being shown the replay at the same time that you are here. Player in question, Kyle Venter.
And you look right now, what are you, 27 yards out? The touch and hit that's been so effective for this club
territory,
is not available to you.
Yep. Substitution, Salim Mohammed will enter for Penn FC. Mohammed, just 22 years of age, native of California. Again, made some appearances with the San Francisco Deltas a year ago. Each team now has one substitution available. Metzger, the player that exits for Penn FC.
And you know, when you're down a man, this is how you can get back into the match, just through set pieces when you've got the chance to stand over a ball. But the critical part is you can't waste them.
It's McInerney, good looking ball! Jack McInerney!
Wow, what a hit.
I'll see your SUNY side and I'll raise you a goal. A man down. The Indy 11 get a goal back.
What a
tied
hit.
at 1 in the 80th minute.
Hey, take a look at some of the invisible parts of this game. If Ouimet doesn't take that card in that moment, and Dennis goes in on Fawn Williams and makes this 2-0, this game's over.
Is there a team in this league that has the variety of set-piece weapons the Indy 11 do? We've seen them now, goals in those scenarios from Ayoze, SUNY Saad, and Jack McInerney. McInerney gets his third Indy 11 goal, and this team had visions of getting 3 points tonight. They still have an opportunity, but right now 1 would be a really good result, playing a man down for your second match of the week. McInerney's first goal since May 2nd. Came against FC Cincinnati. By the way, with that now leveling at 1, the third sub decision has been made as an airmailed look for Opoku. Brad Russin will become the third and final sub for the Indy 11 tonight, and Nico Matern will now exit. So basically what you're doing is you are adding a defender and you're subtracting a midfielder. That's how you make the math work, a man down for the Indy 11. So the rookie from Germany will exit, and Russin will enter. Native of Crown Point, Indiana. The second year in a row that a person from that town in northwestern Indiana has played on the team. Christian Lomelli calls that as a hometown as well, the third goalkeeper for the Indy 11 last year. The only goalkeeper to play so far this season for the Indy 11. Boots this ball about 2/3 of the way down the park. The third sub will enter momentarily for Penn FC, and Prince Buffo. Momentum on the side of the Indy 11. They are still pushing that rock uphill, playing a man down. They did this against the New York Red Bulls too back in late May. It did not go well. They were defeated 4-1 and surrendered 2 of those goals in the man down scenario. And Guerra gives the foul.
This is one of those situations, though, as a player, you're looking at the clock, you're seeing 7.5 minutes plus a little bit of stoppage time. I can find it. I can find that little bit of extra energy, give that little extra 10% to make up for the missing player.
You can watch highlights from every game of the 2018 USL season and bonus content from around the league by subscribing to the league's official YouTube channel, youtube.com/USL. So there is Buffo. A trio of players now from Ghana on the pitch for Penn FC. Menjivar sends it in. He does have 3 assists this year. Starikov will settle and eventually booted away by Venegas. Well, exactly a month ago, there was a draw that felt like a loss for the Indy 11 against the Charleston Battery. This would be the opposite, a draw that would feel like a win. Dangerous moment here. Cassano really could never settle that ball. Back to safety.
You can't overlook Cassano in those moments. He's so. Both of his goals last week were from inside the 6, just because he doesn't quit on those plays.
Speeds with fresh legs, as with Starikov, so you may not get numbers forward. You might have an individual moment of brilliance for the Indy 11 left in this match. I've been impressed by this Penn FC team tonight.
I have too. Organized, disciplined. I like the way that they play. I like the gamble that they take in pushing players forward.
It took a while for them to get going. They were winless in their first 6 matches of the season. They scored just twice in their first 6 games. But again, they had entered with 10 points out of their last 12. And as you have talked about on a couple of different occasions, because these teams were somewhat late in their construction for this season, in one sense, it's not surprising. It took them a while to get going. On the flip side, Indy 11 played very well the first month of the season and then hit the skids to some degree in the month of May.
And you look at the rough start for Penn FC. Not only is it a team that comes together late and they get the roster together late, but even that roster coming together late was late. Kosana's a late signing. Heineman was in camp with Cincinnati and then comes to Penn FC.
The Indy 11 are kind of acting like a point's a good thing here too. They're not exactly in a big hurry to restart here. Penn will play next in 6 days. They will play on Friday night at home. In fact, they will go Friday, Monday next weekend. And their last 2 home matches until September. Indy 11 play each of the next 2 Wednesdays as well as next Saturday. Home to Ottawa Fury on Wednesday again. That match will be on ESPNU. That is the national game of the week for the USL. So the second week in a row that the midweek match for the Indy 11 has been nationally televised. The Charlotte Independence here next Saturday, and then down to the Charleston Battery for a Wednesday night match on July the 11th, and then is a 10-day break. And a foul against Starakov. Galval goes to the turf. This is the last thing that you want to see from the Indy 11 perspective, because again, this is a set piece in a dangerous territory here in minute number 87.
And this is, again, you take a look at Tribbett, how dangerous he is in the air. And on the last set piece, went off of the man that he was marking and moved to Tribbett, knowing how dangerous he was. With Ouimet out of the game, who's going to be the one that's accountable to Tribbett? Right now, it's nobody.
Russin just in about 5 or 6 minutes ago. For the first time, he's going to be tested tonight. He is man-marking Osei at this juncture, with Venegas shadowing Quesada. Bit of a delayed start. Look at the back post, and that's a foul against Penn FC. You see McInerney. He chronicled his past earlier in the broadcast. He and Suni Saad, Tyler Pasher, you say the same thing, Carl Ouimet. They're these mid-20-something guys, but have basically been pros since they were 17 or 18. That's exactly the combination you want at this level. Guys that have Major League Soccer experience, but still have a lot left in the tank.
Yeah, and there's a difference. I mean, there's a lot of talented players in the country. There's a difference in doing this for a living and having a professional mindset. And not every 17, 18, 19-year-old is able to make that transition to show up in a suit and tie and to handle yourself professionally.
And a foul as Guerra floating it off the turf, draws the whistle. Final 5 minutes plus stoppage time of tonight's match, presented by your Central Indiana Honda dealers, official automotive sponsor of the Indy 11.
Here you go, another opportunity. Take your deep breath. Stand over this ball, make sure you deliver a good serve to allow your team to have a chance. You got Russin on fresh legs at, what, 6'11"? Then you got Starakov on fresh legs who can go up and get a ball. Mitchell's in.
Only one man back in Venegas. Iose sends it in. He got to McInerney.
Oh, my goodness.
Could not keep it on frame. Another precision pass from Iose.
Oh, my goodness. Found the little soft spot in the seam. McInerney made the right run.
Pezer may have felt he had that post covered. Really didn't move. Pezer, in a previous stop along the way, was beaten in the 93rd minute in an Indy 11 win here 2 years ago. Quesada goes to ground. Russin, the reason that he goes to ground. And Brad Russin, fresh into the match, will be shown a yellow card. And Russin, you would assume, will likely get the start on Wednesday, with Ouimet having to sit because of 2 yellows tonight. What we said about 2 minutes ago in terms of being nervous because of the territory the set piece takes up, we get to repeat that yet again as we approach the 90th minute. We're in the 90th minute, we're approaching stoppage time. We'll see that signal being given momentarily, and we are being told 4 added minutes.
It's a really fortunate spot for Penn FC here. You got a lot of things at your disposal.
It's Galvao looking back post. Ball sent across, but closer to the Brickyard Battalion than it was to being on frame. Casada couldn't get to it. Tribbett was the player they got a boot to it, but again, he had the wrong angle. The draw here against the Charleston Battery on May 30th was the only home draw to this point for the Indy 11. A pair of losses to FC Cincinnati, a loss to Bethlehem Steel, victories over Nashville SC and Louisville City FC. The hope had been in a fourth consecutive win. There is still time to do that, but 1 point would be a good feeling on the Indy 11 right now.
Yeah,
but frankly, 1 point for Penn FC is probably a pretty good feeling coming in too.
Both of these teams, they're on the road. Both of these teams have gone 5 matches without a loss. They've pulled points in every one of the 5, and both teams are rounding into form and are showing themselves to be dangerous contenders.
Over in the 11-man, Marco Franco to hit the reset button here. Picks up about 10 yards before he releases the ball. Starikoff goes to ground, no call. Galvao will send it in. Russin. He squared off his man, and Iose can do that as delicately as possible.
Well played, yep.
A light touch to get it back to Owain Von Williams. Casada the goal scorer for Penn FC. McInerney the lone tally for the Indy 11. Converted penalty. And another display of set-piece wizardry by the Indy 11. Not out of the woods yet. Down by Venegas to get a boot to that one. They will earn the deflection. Venegas got his first Indy 11 goal 2 weeks ago. The first of the 3 in the victory against Toronto FC2. Flick forward by Spees, but nobody on the back end to pick that one up. Spees onside. Opportunity for Ben Spees. Takes a shot, but
oh my goodness.
The wrong spin on it.
Incredible to find him in that moment. Great run by Spees. Great touch to bring it down. I think with his pace, maybe another touch.
Spees, the Ohio native, played for the Columbus Crew in Major League Soccer, 1 year Minnesota United, his 2nd year with the Indy 11. He, Brad Ring, and Justin Braun, the only 3 players back from a season ago. Zach Steinberger also had previous Indy 11 experience from 2015. By the way, Steinberger not playing tonight. This is just the 2nd match in the last 2 years in which he has not played. He played all 32 for the Jacksonville Armada last year. This is the 2nd match he has not played this season.
That Armada team was unique in the fact that they played.
They had 4 guys play every match last year.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We are now in added time to added time. In other words, time is of the essence. Maybe one more opportunity here. Starikoff couldn't play it. He was not onside. Galvao will boot this ball some 50 yards down the field. Had not seen our referee glance at his watch just yet. And that's it. A point for each side is a fair result tonight.
Yep.
And one playing a man down for the last 20 or so minutes, you feel very good about if you're Martin Running. For the 9th time in franchise history, the Indy 11 will go through an entire month without a loss. And the 10 points for Indy in the month of May also matches their most points in a single month. It is not a 4-match winning streak. but still a good feeling if you're Martin Rennie and the Indy 11 this evening.
5-game unbeaten streak. You are thrilled with the way this ended. You know, this could have turned could have turned training next week. You know, you got another game coming up. Could have turned the whole vibe negative, and instead you can. It's a fair result. You can leave with your head high.
A 25th point of the season for the Indy 11, a second home draw of the season. Handshakes all around. Final thoughts when we come back as you're watching Indy 11 soccer on My Indy TV. Back at Lucas Oil Stadium, before we get to our Central Indiana Honda Dealers post-game show, our chance for a summation of the events tonight. For each of these two teams, it's the fewest goals they have scored in over a month. We talked about it numerous times, Brad. These two teams very much alike. When you have two similar teams, expect a close result, which is exactly what we saw this evening.
I think the commitment both teams had to their defensive game plan was on point tonight. They delivered, you know, in talking to the coaches this week, you saw it play out here. I think the other thing with this match is you had a really unique challenge with Penn FC in the way that they threw numbers forward. And I thought Indy 11, for the most part, did a nice job of managing that and encountering and exploiting the space that created.
2 goals tonight out of 3 shots on target. Possession a little more favored to the Indy 11 in half number 2. 10 fouls in each half for Penn FC. These two teams will not see each other now until the middle of September. For the Indy 11, you will quickly put this one aside because a team, much like Penn FC, did not play well out of the gate, but playing much better as of late. Ottawa Fury comes to town on Wednesday night.
And you're on a short practice week, so as far as everything that you do to get ready for a team, as far as watching video, putting your game plan together, you have to compress it now.
Marco Franco, by the way, you saw him walking towards the Brickyard Battalion. A nod to his friends from the last 4 years of playing here in the city of Indianapolis. Great to see Marco enjoy a moment back here. He'll always be welcome in the city of Indianapolis.
And great to see the response. You know, I mean, as much, what is it, 78, 88 games?
88 games,
he played?
yep.
He plays for this franchise, so his connection with the Brickyard Battalion in the city of Indianapolis is strong. And to see them show out, stay, to see the video tribute at the beginning of the game, and then to see his response of coming out here and shaking hands, that's what it's about.
We'll talk to Martin Rennie, Kevin Venegas, and tonight's goal scorer in Jack McInerney when we come back with the Central Indiana Honda Dealers post-game show. But as far as our game broadcast is concerned, that is a wrap from a warm Lucas Oil Stadium this evening. For the Indy 11, it is a first non-win in a month. But for the Indy 11, it is still a very positive result. A point that both teams can feel good about tonight. The goal for Lucky Casada for Penn FC on the penalty drawn by Aaron Dennis. The answer about 25 minutes later from Jack McInerney. 1 point apiece. Thank you for watching Indy 11 Soccer.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.